Welcome to part 4 of my beginner's guide to Elden Ring. This guide is meant to help new players progress through the game in a somewhat logical order so that you can get better at the game rather than just overpowered. For parts 1 through 3, check out my previous videos on YouTube. For more precise dungeon guides and other videos, check out my TikTok, Genesis Gaming 101. For part 4, we're heading back to finish up everything in the Weeping Peninsula, so let's get to it. Starting at that Castle Morn Rampart side of Grace, go ahead and rest until nighttime. Right on that main path, you will see a Knight's Cavalry patrolling. This one does have a little more health than the one in Limgrave. It also uses a Knight Rider flail, which causes bleed buildup, so be mindful of the red bar building up, or you'll take a lot of burst damage when it maxes out. When you knock him off the horse, get a few hits in, or crit if you can get the positioning right. I messed this one up, but I know you can do better than me. Once defeated, you will receive the Barricade Shield Ash of War, as well as the Knight Rider flail. It requires 24 dex to use, but if you can manage to get the points, it is a fun weapon. After defeating the Knight's Cavalry, warp to the Church of Pilgrimage, and we're going to explore further west. Put your map marker roughly in this location to travel to the 4th Church America. On your way there, you will see an Evergaol. It takes a Stone Sword key to unlock, and you can attempt it now, but I'm going to come back to it in a little bit. The church is guarded by 2 Mausoleum soldiers. You can fight them or run past them like I did. Once inside the church, rest at the site of grace and grab the sacred tear under the statue to increase the efficiency of your flasks. From here, we're going to the Witchbane Ruins, located in about this location. On your way there, you will see a walking mausoleum. You can ignore it for now, it doesn't do anything until after we beat one of the main bosses. The floor around the ruins is poisonous, so standing in it will build up poison. Stay on torrent, and you find the cellar in the middle. In the cellar, you will find the Ambush Shard incantation, and on the wall, you will find Sorcerer Selene. She doesn't do or say anything yet, but remember the location for future reference. On the opposite side of the ruins, you will find the Tomb Sword Cave. Again, the floor is poison, so be mindful of that. If you dodge roll, you will be covered in poison and the bar will continue to accumulate even if you're not standing in it, so be careful about that. The boss is a Mirandum Blossom. Use fire and it should be really easy. It does poison basically the entire room, so fight a little more aggressive than you think you need to. The reward is the Viridian Amber Medallion, which increases stamina, which can be helpful. From the Tomb Sword Cave, head southwest to the location I'm going to mark on my map. Doing your best not to get stomped on by the walking rock on your way. This location has a shop that sells a lantern, a useful item that replaces your torch. It just hangs on your hip to light dark dungeons. Further to the south is a cemetery you can loot for some more runes. And just to the north of the cemetery, you will see the Tower of Return. There isn't any loot here. Instead, at the top you will find a chest that will warp you way to the north. There are a couple items you can grab here, but overall, nothing to do without glitches, and you're actually very underleveled to be here. I'll leave you to explore that at your convenience, if you want to. Instead, we're going to head back to the Church of Pilgrimage. It's time to head to the Minor Erd Tree to the south, if you haven't explored it already. At most Erd Trees, there will be an Erd Tree avatar guarding it. You have plenty of time walking up to use all of your buffs, so take advantage. It is also weak to fire, so if you have any fire spells, now is a great time to use those. Once defeated, you will receive the Opaline Bubble Tear, which can be used in your Physic to greatly reduce the damage of the first hit you receive in combat. As well as the Crimson Burst Crystal Tear, which gives you an HP regen effect, 7 HP per second for 3 minutes, totaling about 1,260 hit points regenerated. Once you're done with the Erd Tree avatar, let's warp back to the Castle Morn Rampart side of Grace and rest until nightfall. There's one more nighttime enemy we need to defeat, and that's another Deathbird that appears near where the Golden Seed was before. This battle is more annoying than the previous Deathbird because there are several bats in the area. Other than the bats, this fight is relatively the same as the one in Limgrave, it just has a little bit more health and hits a little bit harder. The drop for this battle is a Sacrificial Axe, which has a passive that restores 4 FP every time an enemy is defeated near you. The strength required is only 16, so if you have a spell-based build, it is a good weapon to use since enemies killed by magic count towards the passive. Next, we're going to head back to the 4th Church America and tackle that Evergaol we saw earlier. As mentioned, you do need a Stone Sword key to unlock it, and the boss is the ancient hero Zamor. Be sure to use all of your buffs before entering, because she will not give you a lot of time to apply them during the fight. She is very quick and uses ice-based magic. If the Frostbite maxes out, you will take 10% burst damage and have reduced damage negation. Do your best to dodge at least the icy attacks. Once defeated, you will receive Radagon's Scarseal. This talisman boosts all of your physical attributes, such as strength, dexterity, etc., by 3 points each, and also increases damage taken by 10%. I think it's a pretty good trade-off, and if you're a physical attacker, I think this is one of the better early game talismans you can use. Finally, it's time to tackle the legacy dungeon of the Weeping Peninsula, Castle Morn. This is a larger dungeon that has a lot to explore. I'm going to give you the main pieces so that you still have some things to do on your own. I'll be posting a separate guide that has a full walkthrough to this dungeon soon, so be on the lookout for that. On your way to the castle, that giant from part 2 will still be trying to hit you with arrows. He's still a bad aim, so don't worry. Also, once you defeat him, he doesn't respawn, so take him out now to save yourself trouble in the future. After activating the side of grace inside the door and ascending the elevator, you'll come to an open courtyard with several misbegotten and dogs. What's the difference between a misbegotten and a demi-human? I really couldn't tell you. You can work your way to defeat all of them. I'm going to run straight through to make this guide a little bit easier to follow. Sticking to the right-hand side, you can make your way to the other end. After the arch is a mad pumpkin head, but you can quickly run past him by staying to the right-hand side, and following the path you will find a ladder, again on your right-hand side. Climb up and there will be a narrow bridge with several flying misbegotten on it that will shoot you with feathers. If you're going to fight them, try to lure them out one by one, as they can quickly overwhelm you. Also, important note, any misbegotten that were chasing you will climb the ladder after you and swarm you from behind, so be careful about that. To continue Irina's questline, we need to find her dad. You need to exhaust his dialogue after fighting the main boss of Castle Morn, but I'm going to show you how to get to him now. After defeating or running past the misbegotten on the bridge, jump off the left side onto the castle wall. Run forward and you'll see several soldiers and misbegotten fighting. Run past them and continue up the building straight ahead. Some of them may aggro onto you as you run past, so wait a few seconds at the top to see if they're still following. The first time you talk to Edgar, he will give you a sacrificial twig, a single-use talisman that will preserve your runes if you're defeated. He will be in the same location later after you defeat the main boss, so we're going to come back to him after that. Double back and travel back along the wall you came. At the very end, there will be a bit of the wall that is broken. Jump over the edge to find your next side of grace. From here, the path is pretty straightforward, a little bit of platforming and some minor enemies, but I'm going to leave you to navigate that on your own. The boss for this dungeon is a Leonin Misbegotten, or maybe it's Leonine, I honestly don't know. A fast and strong enemy with straightforward attacks. Focus on dodging or parrying his attacks, and attack while he's recovering. Standard procedure by this point, I hope. Once defeated, you will receive the Grafted Blade Greatsword. This is one of the legendary weapons that you need to collect in order to get an achievement. The weapon itself is pretty lame, and I don't recommend using it for any build. Once you're done here, head back to Edgar by warping to the first side of grace and following the path I told you earlier. He'll say his work here is done and head out to find Irina. Unfortunately, when we go back to Irina, we find that she was killed and Edgar is weeping over her body. This is unfortunately necessary to continue her questline, but we'll get to that in the future video. This is sadly where we'll be ending part 4 to the beginner guide to Elden Ring. In the next video, we're going to go finish up Limgrave, so stay tuned for that. If you found the video helpful, leave a like and comment for more. Good luck, and GG everyone.